We all need a Stacey, don't we? We all need a Stacey in our lives. Welcome everybody to Griffith Business Students Podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Joo,
My name is Victor.
and we have an amazing privilege to have Stacey, who is a project manager.
Look, I've had many titles. Project manager is fine.
Yeah, and she is awesome at her job, and we obviously have been closely in contact with Stacey regards to this whole podcast journey, and I thought it would be the best opportunity to ask her what went through your mind saying yes to this kind of podcast. Really. But yeah, so could you give us an intro for the students who doesn't know you?
Hi everyone. My name is Stacey. I have worked at Griffith for probably over close to 12 years now, and my roles have changed over those 12 years. I started in marketing and events officer position, and I've grown my career throughout the last 10 years to now be in student success and support manager role, which, sounds super fancy, but essentially my jobs have always been around student engagement, linking with industry, and making sure that everyone has a really great time while they study with us.
I have a lot of experience with Stacey. Considering I'm being interned by you, and also
Yeah, do you want to give a bit of context on
yeah,
that?
yeah, she's amazing, to be honest.
You have to say that.
Well, genuinely, I have been talking to Victor a lot about my internship and even my surrounding friends, and I've learned a lot from you. I know it's just a course of 6 weeks, but just being in this space of managing a plan, and you gave me so much insight on how to execute that in a corporate setting, but also like the ethic of actually carrying that out, not just for my own project, but also for others who's involved, and for other stakeholders. Learned a lot from you, Stacey. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad. That's the point of the internships, isn't it? Is
100%.
to grow your skills into areas that you haven't been able to do otherwise.
That's right. I guess like one thing that I really wanted to show our audience about was what goes into planning an event, like to help students succeed and help engagement.
Oh, goodness. Well, I guess the most important part is actually considering who your stakeholder is. So if it is a student-focused event, what is the purpose of the event? What are you hoping to achieve with it? So is that students get a chance to network with people in the industry? Is that for students to be able to learn more about their degree and where it can take them? Is it to get them involved in a specific thing? So, is it an information session for an internship program? So once you know who you're working with and what you want to achieve with the event, then you need to start looking at, okay, when is my stakeholder available? What timeline works for them in terms of the other commitments that they have on? Is that during the day? Is that in the evening? Is it off-site? Is it on-site? How long does it need to be? And that's where it comes into play of like, okay, where in the trimester do we put this? Also in relation to the wider university calendar. So we have a Choose Your Majors event in trimester 2. That's in trimester 2 because most people make that decision in trimester 2 as to what courses they want to do the following year and are picking their majors. But how do we make sure that they're getting the most value out of that event when they're so busy and there's lots of competing priorities? What do we need to give them? What's the value add that makes them come? So you need to think about your stakeholder, what they want to get out of that event, and how you can deliver what they want.
And how, might be a detailed question, and I don't know, but how do you arrive at what students want? How do you feel what they need, and how do you hear them?
So I'm really lucky in my role that I actually get to spend a lot of time with students. Obviously, Joe's got the student leadership program, which means I come in contact with a lot of our students.
Joe being one of the other student success and engagement officer.
Student development
Coordinator. There you
but
go.
they're all superfluous, right?
Yep.
Joe and I have worked together for about 10 years through the leadership program as well. So I've been able to get to know students in very different generations over, quite a long period of time. And the baseline of what everybody wants doesn't change all that much. The environment in which we work in does change. When I first started working at the uni, students had a lot more disposable time. Most of them could focus on their study. They didn't do as much work. These days, we're just not in the same environment. So we need to consider the core values of why they're at the university and what they want, but how do we work into the environment that we're now in? And for me, it's asking students what they want. Like, the only way that you're going to know what somebody really wants is to ask them. So we use social media polls, we use email feedback forms. I literally talk to students. We see them at our events. We ask them how they think it went. A lot of people don't want to fill in the feedback forms, but they'll talk to you on the night. You get feedback on what you could improve, whether they liked it or not. But it's talking to them. It's just asking people to give their opinion.
So almost whatever you see online, it counts.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think students have to note that in, that whatever they say online or replies to an email, it actually counts to events that you can actually contribute and participate. And I think that's key.
Yes.
Quite interactive, and it's really key, isn't it?
Yeah. And like our social channels, like obviously we're predominant on Instagram, just because of the type of content that we have time to develop. And, you know, the TikTok content is very specific. You need a lot of time to do that and do it well without being a little bit kitsch. So, like, you know, I put up polls on our Instagram stories. We got over 90 responses from one that I did 2 weeks ago because I literally just wanted to know whether people liked one or the other idea more. And if they didn't have a preference, if they liked both, then fantastic. I couldn't really do the wrong thing. But I don't know. I have to ask. You know, I'm not a student anymore. So you just have to ask.
I think one thing that I noticed, because I went to a lot of the events, actually, I think I told Stacey this. When I started studying as a first year was when I went to the majors and pathways. And it was a great event to be involved in, because you're starting out a Bachelor of Business degree, but you're also seeing people who have just completed that Bachelor of Business degree, and you can definitely feel that the intentional approach that a lot of those students had. And it was refreshing for me to really start my journey, to just get involved. So it doesn't have to necessarily like apply to you in specific circumstances to participate, because it's more of an investment, because those networking events, those events do actually add up. And eventually, when I went to a few other networking events, I was meeting the regulars, and I was meeting the regulars of, hi, how are you? Oh yeah, I saw at the event. So that's when you start to develop that network, and how you really encourage the people you meet, you know, and get familiar with those faces in the industry. So, can you tell us more about the events that you've held? So, there's a wide range of looking at student success. So, can you tell me more about like which events specifically what were your favorite to host, but also what has been the most impactful event that you've made?
Oh, okay. So I've been involved in a lot, and we have changed what we've done over the time. So, you know, as I said, really depends on the environment we're working with. Most enjoyable is tricky, because I can find a lot of enjoyment from it, but if it didn't serve its purpose, then...
But that's what I want to know, is what was your favorite? Because we want to know more about you, Stacey.
About me specifically, the ones I don't have to organise. No, we're always helping out different parts of our team. So one of the favourite ones that I did is the business crawl, which was actually designed and created by my colleague Sarah Henderson, who's currently, she's left us, unfortunately, but she will be involved again in things this year with us, which is great. But it was such a great concept, and it was something that we hadn't been able to do before because we didn't have the resources to pull it off. So I love that event. I love walking around the city and taking people into different offices and being in that environment where people are learning a lot about what they can see. So we will do that again this year. We'll look a little bit different because Sarah is no longer here, but that's okay. But I loved it. But I had nothing to do with actually doing the pre-organization part.
Right.
The pre-organization part, though, for me, like I enjoy all the events that I pull together. I really love the majors events. I think the majors events are a lot of fun because it's a lot of different people in one room. And I know a lot of the industry. So for me, it's also getting to see my friends. Like, you know, I'm like, I can meet all these new students and I can get to know people in the room, but I also get to catch up with people that I've known for years. You know, through different things that I've met them, either it's at uni or it's at an event or, you know, but it's just reconnecting with people that you enjoy spending time with. And you know that they are a good person to have around because you know them. So you know that they're going to bring value to that event and value to the students because they're the sort of person that you need there. But I get to just see a whole bunch of my friends. You know, it's a lot of hard work, but I love those events where I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you? How's this? How's that wedding go? How did the baby, like, you know, because you know these people. That's what I love.
That's the real key, hey, so for students even, is the current connection that you create at uni is a connection that you'll probably see time and time again. And that's a repeat interaction that you gotta start understand it's a reality of your career.
You need to remember what people tell you or what's happening in their life, right? So if you catch up with somebody and you know that they went for a job interview, even if it was a few months ago, go, oh, the last time I saw you had a job interview. How'd it go? Did you get the job? Oh, yeah, no, you know. But if you remember things that are happening in people's lives and you're like, oh, how's the wedding planning going? Or, you know, how's your daughter? Or, you know, how did that trip go? Even if it was months ago, it makes people feel really special. You can 100% genuinely want to do this, right? Like you should actually want to ask these questions. You shouldn't just be doing it because you have to. But it makes people feel special and it strengthens the bond with that person. That's beyond just what you do for work. So it's not just about going along and being terrified. Like it's actually about making friends. Yeah.
And what made you get into project management in the first place? How did you end up where you are right now?
So I studied marketing and event management, actually at Griffith, down the Gold Coast campus. It's beautiful down there. And I always was very good at organising things, very good at time management, just kind of came naturally to me. But project management was something that looked like it was only associated with engineering. When I first started looking at where I wanted to go, it was very much events. Like I wanted to be an event manager. But project management was in that engineering space to do with building, to do with town planning, things like that. I didn't realise until probably like 4 years into my career that project management was actually something that was a lot more encompassing because it wasn't really explained that way at school. So I actually got into it because I just started doing more projects at work and I looked into what methodologies are used and how you can better plan things. I've always been a good planner, but I sort of wanted to dig deeper into that to figure out, okay, like this is actually a legitimate career path. How do I do this? Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much effort that goes into event management.
That's a lot of work.
Could you run through that process? Like, okay, if you want to create an event. So,
I myself know nothing about it.
So you're speaking to an audience that has no idea about events as well. I'm also an events manager. I'm doing exactly the same course as you. I know a little bit about what goes on in events, but considering that you've been in the project management space for a long time, could you explain, like maybe just give us a little run through of how that event management or planning stage looks like?
Yep. So I touched on like before, obviously you need to know who your audience is and you need to know the time of which they're available and where you're going to host it.
Right.
You need to know those things. That's your first step.
I mean, that means there's a lot of research, a lot of asking around, a lot of emails back and forth.
Yep. It does get easier. It gets quicker the more you do it. Once you know where you're hosting it, when you're hosting it, and who you're getting there, then you really need to think about what is the purpose of this event. You usually have an idea before you've even started thinking about it, right? You're like, you know, there's something I want to do here. But you're like, you have to nut down and really figure out what that purpose is. And then you build your plan. So it's like, this is the purpose of my event. Say it's getting students to understand their major choices better. That's the purpose. How do I do that? So then you have to think about what do I need to deliver and give to these people, and how can I do that?
Mm.
So that's then the emails and the talks and the conversations with different stakeholders and different people and
Yep.
students and staff, and you work out what does that look like.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need to come up with a name. So you have
That's
to
the
have
marketing
some sort
aspect
of
of it.
name
For
there.
sure.
And if it's contacting industry to come on campus, you need to have your date, your name, your times. That needs to be in place. You
Mhm.
send out emails to your industry to get them on board. They come back to you, yes, no. That's then calendar invitations that you need to send to put holds in calendars. Industry always use calendars. You need to know how to use a calendar.
True.
We're not meeting at 2 a.m. But it's back and forth, back and forth. You need to arrange parking. You need to make sure they have a run sheet. You need to make sure that they know where they're going. So that might be a map. Especially if it's on campus, you need to give them walking directions. So that is like that whole element just to get the industry here. And then there's follow-ups. So you need to like schedule in your follow-ups depending on how far out you've booked these people in. You need to contact them to remind them that it's coming up, to check on dietary requirements as you get closer because you need to do catering. So that's all that industry side. Then you look at the student side. That's okay, I've got my event. Now where am I going to promote it? How am I going to get registrations? How many people can I have in this room? Unfortunately, the environment that we work in, we aim for 50% dropout. It's just how it is. So if I want
That's
50
on you guys.
students,
That's on you.
That's
Not
not too
us.
bad.
Not you.
Is it?
it's a lot compared to a standard event.
Okay.
So if you think about a standard event that you're like, say you want to go to Taylor Swift, everybody's going to Taylor Swift. You have to buy tickets, and the only people that aren't getting to Taylor Swift are people that have ended up sick. Something dramatic has happened. Their car has broken down, their flight's been delayed, whatever. Or they booked it for the wrong place and they realize they can't get there. Most people are going to get there. You're going to always have dropout, but most people will be there. Unfortunately, we aim for about 50% dropout, which means if I want 50 students at my event, I need 100 students to register.
At least.
At least. Yeah. And you have to then consider, if you're having industry, what is the industry to student ratio? So the industry feel like it's value for their time. If they're only talking to one student because you have 50 industry and you have 50 students, that's not a good ratio.
Yeah.
So you need to consider the ratio.
Yeah.
So it's all the promo, it's all the comms, it's social media, it's email, it's course conveners, it's everything in between in the lead up to your event.
These events, you would think that there's a lot more practical element, but this ROI, the return on investment, it's still in play. It's a very prominent play to really make sure that anybody who's involved gets that ROI for them.
What's relationship management? So if you want these people to come back to your events in the future, regardless, students or industry, but if you want them to come back, they need to have a good time.
Yeah.
Regardless of the type of event you host. It could be a beer festival. It could be Taylor Swift's concert.
Yeah.
If they don't have a good time, they're not going to give you a second or third chance. But if they have a good time, you're going to get repeat people coming back. And that's what you want because it makes your job easier.
And how do you measure the success of an event? Just based on the attendance?
Attendance,
Or, as you mentioned as well,
element.
like you talk to the people, see how it's going.
Yep.
Yeah.
So attendance is a very easy metric to use. And it can tell you if an event is growing, which is very helpful year on year to see if it's improving, or if you're seeing a drop off, then you're like, okay, this is no longer suitable for who I'm working with.
Yeah.
You also need to get that feedback, the qualitative feedback, where people can tell you what they liked and didn't like. And quantitatively, we measure things in terms of, community connection. Did this make you feel more connected to the Griffith community? Did this help you understand your major choices better? And that's just a scale. But not everybody fills out my feedback form. So another thing is, do we have people coming back with questions about the same thing after they've attended?
Right.
True.
So are they still
That'd be a big
struggling?
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Do they still not know what the pathways are? Or do we see a level of understanding increase? So do they know about vacation and grad programs because they've been to the event and they've applied and they go into programs? Or do we still have a large proportion of students that don't know what that is? because that's a good quality. Like, you don't need to get somebody to tell you that. You can pull data on that. But yeah, so, attendance is always one of the factors, but it's much more helpful to know if somebody's gone ahead and then like graduated and gone into their career and they go, oh, that event really helped, because you can track where they go. We have dashboards that we use at Griffith that can track whether a student is at risk of dropping out, because there's a lot of data that you can pull from people's attendance.
I want to prove that dashboard wrong.
But like, it's important.
For sure.
We have thousands and thousands and thousands of students, and we can't be one-on-one with every single one of them. So
and not all of them are even on campus.
No. And that's part of the challenge that we're finding with the change of technology. We don't have as many students on campus. There are flow-on effects because of that, both positive and negative. But how do we make sure that they're still getting a good experience and that they get their jobs? Because at the end of the day, you come to uni to get a career. You don't come to uni just to spend 3 years studying something else and then go back to your normal job. So, how are our graduate outcomes? Are they changing? Are they improving? Are people going into positions that they enjoy?
I guess really moving to, that success. Like, we want to chase for students to get the most out of the university degree and in their journey at Griffith. So do you have any situations that this student really achieved their goal by engaging? So do you have any stories like that?
Yep. So I've got one good example. It's not like necessarily very well linked to events, but it is linked to Business Plus.
Sweet.
Okay.
So Business Plus, if you're not aware, is a co-curricular program, runs alongside business degrees within Griffith. So it is something people elect to do. It is online. People can do it from where they are. So it means that our online and interstate students are very well served through that program. I had a student that is based in Sydney who started Business Plus. She did the Business Plus workshops, which are all career focused. And then the other elements in Business Plus is Gain, which is work experience, Enrich, which is, your fun things, your events, whatnot, and Contribute, which is kind of volunteering. It's giving back. It's community. So she decided that she was going to use her Enrich component of Business Plus to do LinkedIn learning courses on marketing. That's what she wanted to do. So she added value to her degree by doing LinkedIn learning courses in different marketing components. And then she did 2 volunteer roles in marketing, because that's what she wanted to do, in 2 different volunteer organizations. Those 2 roles and her extra skills in LinkedIn led her to a paid role in marketing while she was still studying here.
Awesome.
So she was able to use this platform that we had provided and the outline of what we know. If you do these things, this helps better prepare you to get to the jobs that you want to get to.
Yeah, because you're in contact with industry, so
Exactly.
you know exactly what they want.
Exactly. So she used this in a way that benefited her to be able to plan out her course. And so she got to the job that she wanted to get to before she even graduated. So she was in a full-time role in marketing as she was finishing her degree, which is what she wanted. So there are circumstances like that which you can see. People engage and people achieve. The more you put in, the more you get out. It's the same with our student leaders. I've seen student leaders go from some of the most shy people you could possibly imagine to these just larger than life people. They're still quiet. They're just really good at being able to engage in environments because they've learned about themselves and they've been able to develop skills. And you see that all the time. It's you're not going to go into dream job as your first job out of uni, but you can see people's trajectory of how they grow when they do engage, and the confidence levels, people's confidence just grows so much. The more you engage, the more you come to things, your confidence in yourself improves. So you're going to be better in job interviews because you believe in yourself. So yeah, I see it all the time. It's hard to pinpoint a specific example other than George's. George's example is really easy.
On soft skills and interpersonal skills, since we're here already, how important do you think they are for students? Because that's emphasized a lot during, especially first year of your degree. But then I think it kind of dies out after when you start your majors in second year. So yeah, how important are they, and how can people develop those skills? Of course, there's Business Plus, but is there any other tips?
Yep. Soft skills are very important. Your degree is obviously important, but with business, very transferable, right? You can make decisions and change your mind, and you can still get into a really great career that you want. But what's going to get you there is your ability to communicate with people. So you need to have those soft skills, the interpersonal skills, to be able to make the changes that you need to as you're going through. So you could be joining things at university, like leadership program, the student clubs, Griffith Mates, the GSAL program, which is a sport event leaders program. You could do things with the industry mentoring program, where you're starting to get used to talking to industry. You can also do things in your own community. If you love cricket, join the cricket club. Go and help out on a Saturday in the canteen. You know, those sorts of things where you start to build connections, learn how to talk to different people of different ages, demographics, backgrounds. But volunteer. It builds empathy. You know, it's not just about what you can offer in terms of what you've studied. It's about who you are as a person and your fit with community and with the organizations that you're going into. So soft skills are hugely important, but you can build those just by literally interacting with people. You just need to talk to people.
I mean, that is, from what I've heard, with your story, with studying here, marketing and events, and then transitioning into the position you're in right now. Well, basically, straight out of university, you just stayed at university.
Yeah, literally.
So, I guess like we want to go dive into like Stacey.
Okay.
Stacey as a person, what kind of, like, obviously you mentioned that you've always been a planner. You've always liked to organize things.
Yeah.
What was that from the young, like in that like younger
Yes.
age as well? You just wanted to just.
I'm very type A Jew. If you don't realize this about
Very
me,
straight.
I'm very type A. I've always been a very organized person. Like my brother, super messy. Stuff was everywhere.
Yeah.
I was the person that put away my toys when I was 4.
Yeah.
Like I'm just that person. Okay.
Wow.
My parents were like, I don't know how we created this
Wow.
thing, but you
Wow.
know. So yeah.
We all need a Stacey, don't we? We all need a Stacey in our lives.
Yeah. We also have a purpose, right?
Oh, for
Everybody
sure.
has a purpose. I've always been a very organized, methodical person, and I like to think I've been pretty driven. I don't really like to sit. I like you know, you don't want to be constantly busy, but you know, you want to grow your skills and you want to learn new things, because otherwise it stagnates.
Yep.
So that's just sort of who I am. I've been very happy at Griffith. That's why I'm still here. But I have changed roles throughout my time here.
What were the key milestones for you during those time where like you definitely reflected back and thought, oh, that was a really good lesson that I learned? It could be events, could be people, could be a situation that you had to confront even, or challenges or roadblocks. Is there anything that you can think of at the moment?
I guess one of the first challenges I ever had when I started my career, I had done an internship at Griffith. It was something that I did when I was studying, and I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to apply for an entry-level role within the team that I had already been doing an internship with. So I was like, oh, this is perfect timing. I'm graduating. This is going to line up really well. So I went to the interview, and I blew it because everybody in the interview were people that I knew. And I didn't know how to talk about myself to people that knew me.
Wow.
You have to talk yourself up in an interview, because the interviewers can't just assume anything, right? You need to tell them what you've done.
Yeah.
You need to tell them what you were involved in and your achievements. And I didn't do that. I was too modest. And I didn't want to big note myself.
Yeah.
And that was a huge lesson for me. I didn't get the job. But the interpersonal skills meant that my boss knew that I was very good at my job.
Yeah.
And she found something for me to do in the interim. So I actually was kept on casually for another 6 months. And the girl that had got the position ended up leaving. And then I got the position.
Yeah, wow.
Let's go.
Yeah. And from there, I've sort of grown and moved and, you know, applied for different roles. But that was a huge lesson, and I learned that really, really early. It doesn't matter if it's somebody that knows you. You need to know how to talk about yourself, and you need to know how to talk about your achievements. And you need to use I statements in your interviews.
Yeah, right.
It does not matter if it was a team project. You did this on this project.
Yeah.
It's not, we achieved this, I achieved this.
Yeah.
It feels super awkward, and you need to practice.
It's a tall poppy syndrome, isn't it?
It's honestly a bit
100%.
yuck.
Yeah.
It's a bit yuck. I don't enjoy doing it, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to be confident in what you've done so other people have confidence in you.
Yeah.
So that was a huge lesson. It was one of my earliest lessons in my career, and it's still like something that plays in my mind every time I go into an interview.
Balance as well, because it's difficult to talk yourself up without coming across as maybe being too much as well. And
but it's like, okay, so we worked on this project together, and in this project I did this.
Yeah.
So you can still attribute it to a bigger group, but you need to be able to pull out what you did, because they're employing you. They're not employing the group.
Yeah, cool. I think that's also what I realized, because before I actually came to study, I was in retail for 10 years, and I was actually a part of recruitment as well. And you can definitely see who is confident about their skills, just the way that they speak about themselves. And I think that's also a key to really understand that you got to be confident about what you've done. It's more about how you can take that experience to next process, and how you can take that learning curve to better yourself and self-improvement. That's also what I really noticed is a big difference of as an employer when I was recruiting in retail environment is makes a big difference for employers. Moving on to, I guess, like Stacey, on what kind of project we talked about how the projects she managed. We talked about her personal career and how it transitioned to a professional career.
How to do a project, dude.
Yeah, and how to do a project. So now, 2025, this is where we would like to know more about what's in the works, what's in for Stacey right now. Like, what's your plan for this year? Is there anything that like holiday you want to go to, or projects you want to manage?
And Ruth, when we were speaking to her earlier today, she said she has a 30-year goal.
Oh gosh, Ruth does have it. I'm not surprised. Ruth is very organized like that.
Yeah.
Do you have something similar to that as well?
Nothing like a 30-year goal. My goodness. I don't know where I'm going to be in 30 years. I'll be in my 60s. Oh goodness. We're having a life moment here, guys. Look, I am very much interested in transitioning into a role that is predominantly project management. I wear a lot of hats right now. So I have my marketing hat, I've got my events hat, I've got my project hat. I do bits and pieces throughout the year. It's always very busy. I would like to do something that is more project management based. So that's on the plans. Something that looks like that. That's kind of my career.
That's exciting though. Like it's a next.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't forget to close a chapter, or sometimes actually look out to what's the next step. I think that's a very important thing to also make sure that you're aware of. Is that today, we want to look forward to tomorrow, and like tomorrow might sound like this, might sound like that, but I'm open. I think that's a really good positive attitude for yourself that really decreases that anxiety.
Yeah, and I think it's about where are you going to find value for yourself, and what makes you feel like you're contributing to something bigger, and also what value can you bring to people.
Yeah.
You know, so it's that two-way sort of flow. So that's my, career goal, I suppose. Otherwise, I am going on a very exciting holiday, June. That's already booked in.
Wow.
I will be gone for a month.
So exciting.
There will be no events in business school for the month of May. I will not be here. So that's very exciting.
Hey, meanwhile, you can check out our podcast. Join the team.
Listen to the podcast for the month of May. So that will be for a month. My family is overseas, so my partner hasn't got to meet my family yet, so I'm very excited for him to be able to meet them.
Oh, nice.
So that's a huge thing for us this year. I'm
100%.
very excited for it.
Yeah, great.
Otherwise, I don't know. We'll see what sort of pops up throughout the year, and who knows.
So Griffith have bought the Treasury.
Bought or leased? I think it's a lease.
It's a
Okay.
lease
Yep.
at CBD Brisbane.
Yep.
And
The old Treasury.
the old
building.
Treasury building.
Yeah.
And it was a big news.
Yeah.
Last year, if you don't know, but it's a campus potential. Well, it is going to be a campus. So that's a huge deal for Griffith in general.
Yep.
But also, the people who's working
Mhm.
at Griffith is also, is impacted quite heavily for that.
Yep.
So obviously, like a lot of students have no idea how that works because there is a Griffith Business School,
Mhm.
and there is the academics side, and there is a staff side.
Mhm.
And I don't think people realize there's two different, I guess, departments.
Yeah.
Would you say? So could you actually explain a bit more about that relationship and how that decision of the Treasury Casino impacted the both sides?
Yep. So I can't really talk from academic point of view because I'm not
True.
an academic, but
True.
we've obviously got within the business school we have several different departments. So you have the Department of Accounting, Finance, Economics, the Department of Tourism, Sport, Hotel Management, and within those departments you have academic teaching staff, so your tutors, your lecturers, professors, all the rest of it. You also have professional staff that help support the operations of the departments, and then you also have professional staff that sit more in a central role within that. It might be under the PVC. So, the PVC has certain types of staff. It might be under Ruth. She has certain professional staff. Joe and I sit in learning and teaching, which is under the Dean Learning and Teaching. So it's a little bit convoluted, but we all kind of work together, but we have different priorities. So for academics, that's the teaching and the research side. For us, it's usually to do with actually keeping the business running. It's business processes, it's events, it's engaging our students, our industry in different ways.
Yeah.
So we're obviously across Gold Coast and Nathan, which is Brisbane South from this year, Brisbane South Nathan. So the Gold Coast campus not super affected. If you're based down there, you pretty much will be staying there. For the Brisbane South Nathan staff, we will be moving into the city. That's where our base will be. So it'd be us, law, and IT, which is, it's great to be closer to the industry.
Yeah.
So that's going to be so excited. So exciting. I would like to know more about what it looks like and where we're going to be sitting and what sort of spaces we're going to have access to. I'm really keen on hopefully a really great event space.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I would love a really, really good event space.
Yeah.
But I just haven't seen any of the plans. So, I'm not really sure what that looks like. And for me, type A, that's the detail that I want.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. But, when am I going to get the plans?
I think, I'm going to throw it out there, as an events major, if you get to organize events in that kind of event space would be awesome practical experience. Even for me, I'm studying events right now, and I am also jealous that, I don't get to be in that space because I'll be graduating, planned graduate this year. But that's also the thing. It's like that if utilizing that space, utilizing what you have available as university to better the student experience, and having an event space that event majors could contribute to actually organizing events, and I think there's always a different way of looking at utilizing campus, because I guess that's also a way that university can look into their internal processes and spaces, and then how to make it better and improve. I think that's also an idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
and if you could get event calendar running, you could employ students to run those events on campus. There's so many extra things that you could be doing with that space. So it's very exciting because it is in the city. It's around lots of other things. Very accessible. Very different, obviously, to our vibe here at Nathan campus
and the Gold Coast
campus and Logan campus.
Yeah.
But it'll be exciting to see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
At the moment, we just don't have a lot of information. They're working on a lot of those plans still. So I'm just putting in my 2 cents where I can. So hopefully we see the things that we would like to be able to utilize for us. Yeah.
Stacey has a lot of experience in the campuses, so we actually have a little segment.
Is there going to be a musical interlude?
We got something called rapid fire questions.
Yep.
So you have extensive amount of experience in a lot of campuses.
Yep.
and meeting a lot of new people and things like that. And some students here have no idea, like have no idea about what to do in campus because they don't actually come to campus.
Mhm.
So I guess those are kind of questions that I want to ask Victor to actually lay it out for you, so
Okay.
I can answer like straight up questions. Like
Okay.
I think they'll be fun.
Yep. Sounds good.
Cool. What's your favorite campus?
Favorite from student perspective was the Gold Coast,
Okay,
but I love working here because I get to go for a koala walk.
nice. What was? Oh, we've already talked about this. What was your favorite event?
Yeah, probably the business crawl that I didn't organise or
Mm.
the majors events that I do.
What would a dream event look like for you to run?
Oh, I always wanted to run a music festival. Like, I think that would just be so much fun.
What type of, like a big one or a small one?
Yeah, like a big, like, one of those camping music festivals, where you have lots of different things going on.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot of fun. But, like, early 2010s music festival, not the environment that we're working in
Okay.
right now.
Bit different. What's your advice for students to network?
Go to the events that you register for.
Make it more than 50%.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, drop out right. So you gotta be less than 50%.
Yeah, make me have the issue of not having enough catering. That'd be great.
What's the best thing about working with Griffith students?
I think we have really nice people here. I think the demographic of the student that comes to Griffith is the type of people that I like being around.
And which campus cafe would you recommend?
Campus cafe is tricky. I don't know, the Junction's probably a pretty good cafe down the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Debatable, but okay.
Well, you said cafe, you didn't say food. Like, you just go to the GYG, wouldn't you? Just go to GYG.
If there's only one event that a student, say, could attend a year,
Mhm.
which one would you recommend them to go? Business crawl, of course, but
I think go to your orientation events. Like that, I know that, that's only really valuable for you when you're starting, but it gives you all the basic information that you need to then be able to find all the stuff that you can get involved in.
Mm.
If I had to pick one thing, because it's going to hit the most amount of people,
Mm.
it's probably orientation.
related to that, and what's the quickest way of finding out what's happening on campus?
Being on campus. Look, I would say you need to check your email.
Mm.
I know that you get a lot of emails. Use the sweep function to get rid of things you don't need, and star the ones that you know are going to give you the news that you do need. So star business plus at griffith.edu.au. Because that one, I send that email out, so I will be able to put in there events that are coming up, application opening, closing times for internships, leadership program, all that sort of stuff. And if you're in Business Plus, you can access a whole bunch of extra stuff because it's on the SharePoint. So I'd say check your email.
Thanks for answering all those questions.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I guess really taking into this podcast, obviously you've I don't know why, but you've let us create a podcast.
Yeah.
So when we first reached out to you about this project, I know, what did you think about that? Did you think that that we could pull it off?
Yes, I did. I did think you could pull it off.
Like to be honest.
No, I did. I
Okay.
did think you could pull it off. I needed more information from you to ensure that you had thought about all the different steps
Yeah.
that would be involved to pull it off.
Yeah.
And I think we did restructure the scope of what you were wanting to achieve.
Yeah.
I think the initial scope was maybe a little bit big.
Yeah.
But it's about stretching, but not stretching so far.
Yeah.
So you want to stretch to a point where it's a little uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but not so uncomfortable that you spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure.
so I didn't have any problems with you doing it. I
Yeah.
thought it's going to be great. Both of you are involved. I
Yeah.
have no concerns at
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
except for I think we were just reaching a little far.
I mean, this is the key, isn't it? Like, I think for us, like, we want that kind of feedback, and we want to actually make a best decision for all of us. And I wanted to really highlight that, students, we're just started as a student to make this project work, and there are opportunities like we've never thought about making a podcast. Like, we actually just earlier we had lunch, and then we were like thinking, oh yeah, like we come a long way from being a student in his past session to making a podcast together, right? So I guess chasing that opportunity is what I wanted to highlight. Is like, for us, we didn't really they thought about creating a podcast in the time of our studying, and it somehow just made it to be, and I got to meet great people like you by engaging, that's when we started to, I guess, converse, and we tried to make this project work. And I think that's what I really want to highlight is, for students, this is definitely possible, and you can actually do these kind of things if you put your mind to it.
Yeah. I think the thing is, your voice as students is a lot more important than I think you maybe necessarily think it is. For us, if we can get a student input or perspective on things, we know it's going to be better because you're talking to your peers. I've been out of uni for a little while now. I like to think that I'm young and hip, but the fact that I just use the term young and hip probably tells you everything you need to know. So I value having input from the people that are currently going through the experience, because you're the ones in the experience. So your voice is going to be a lot more important than I think you realize. So when you have feedback opportunities, use your feedback opportunities. If you want to do something, reach out to us. We'll figure out if it's possible. We just need to know that you want to do something, and then we can help.
Yeah.
If you want to go somewhere, you want to do something, you want to go into a certain career, if you tell us that, it's much easier for us to help you than if you stay in your own little box and we never know.
Yeah, that's right. Just to close, I guess we ask all our guests to promote anything that you would like to promote. I would love to just give you the time to really talk about what you think the students can look forward to, or even anything that's coming up that is exciting, and something that a tip for our students as well, if you like to. I think that'll be a really good way to close our podcast. So, yeah.
Okay. So I would highly recommend getting involved in Business Plus. Of course I'm going to. It's my program. That is open all the time. Please sign up. You go into my mailing list and I can let you know about all the other things that are happening. Trimester 1's pretty planned. We've got our Connections event that will be coming up in week 5-6. We're hoping to do a mini version of the crawl, and we'll be doing our Business Plus career readiness workshops like normal. And the internship program will be back for trimester 2, so you can start applying for internships in trimester 1. So there's a lot coming up, but if you sign up to Business Plus, it's much easier for me to tell you that stuff as it's confirmed and locked in. And I guess that is my tip. Choose what you want to engage in, and then be specific about actually engaging.
Sweet as.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you,
Chat with
Stacey.
us.
Thank you for letting us pick your brains. We learned a lot from you today, but not just about the student success department, but also about yourself. So it was great to really have the privilege.
And all the help that you've given us to set this all up and get this project going.
I hardly did any of it. You guys did all the hard work.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.